Okay guys, this video is going to give you a little bit of tools and introduction to Adobe Illustrator and how to convert your raster image to a vector image. You should already at this point have your file saved to your folder, your raster file. And then to get the Adobe Illustrator, you just want to go to Start, your All Programs here, and Adobe Design Premium. The same place you would find your InDesign, your Photoshop, you'll also find Illustrator. Just want to click on that, and this will load. Most of you guys have used Photoshop and InDesign in the past. Opens up and looks very similar. Those Adobe Illustrator, but it's a little bit different. Like I said, it handles vectored graphics, but it opens up this window here. And for our purpose here of converting the cartoon and using the pen tool, we just want to click on Create New Print Document. All right, when you click on that, you just hit OK, just use the default settings, and it brings up your window. Again, here's your page, all right, here's your tools, and here's some palettes on the side, so we can get rid of that for right now. What we want to do is then file and open up our cartoon, or our image. And again, on my Moodle site under Technology Education, Graphic Communications, there's 6 cartoons to pick from. All right, so I just have my cartoon that's loaded here. I'm just going to zoom in. And again, show you what a raster image is. If you zoom in, you see how that's all distorted. Again, that's just the key to raster images. And we want to convert that to a vector to where you zoom in and it is not distorted. One of the key components of Adobe Illustrator is the pen tool. All right, third one down, just straight up the pen tool. All right, that's what we want to use. You want to click on that, and that will select that tool. The other thing along with the pen tool you got to keep in mind is the stroke and fill. And again, the stroke is the outline of our box or our shape that we're doing, and the fill is the color inside. So right now with that red line through it, we have no stroke or no outline. For us tracing, we want to make sure that we have an outline. So I'm just going to double click. I'm going to select the color. I'm just going to use red just because it'll be easier to see when we trace over that in black. And the fill, I don't want it to be filled in. Even though it's white, it's going to cover things up. I don't want it to be filled in. So I'm just going to click on None. That button down here, that's None. So it's going to be a red outline or a red stroke and no fill. Okay. I'm also going to go up here and increase the thickness or the stroke. Again, remember, it means thickness, just so it's easier to see. If this isn't up here, you want to go to Window and Stroke. And that'll pull up this palette here that you can use. One other thing you want to do, if your layers palette is not visible, if you just hit F7, F7 pulls up your layers palette. You want to create a new layer. All right, create a new layer, and you click on the button here. It has a little padlock, should you to lock your original layer. That way we don't do anything by accident on the original layer. And I'll show you a little bit more later on the reason why you want to create a new layer, especially for this assignment. Okay. But again, what we're going to do for the pen tool is trace the image. I'm going to zoom in just so it's easier to see. All right, so I have my pen tool. What the pen tool can do, it is tracing on the computer. I'm just going to do it off to the side so you can see it better. If I click and let go, and click and let go, it comes or it creates a straight line. All right. But what the pen tool is predominantly used for is for curves. So if I click and let go from my starting point, I click and hold, I actually can move my mouse around to create different algorithms and curves. Very similar to like your math class. If you're entering a formula in a graphing calculator and it comes up with a curve, same type of thing. All right. Again, how to use the pen tool and continuation line. I'm going to say I want my line to start here, so I click and let go. I want this to go here, and I click and hold. And again, just changing the algorithm around, all right, or the formula to create those curves. Again, I'm going to start here, and I click and hold, and it comes up with some curves. All right. What I want to do now is zoom in to show you a little bit of a difference between raster, the black line here, you can see it's all jagged, and vector, the very, very smooth red lines. All right. We're actually converting all this raster image in the mouse to vector by using the pen tool. All right. And again, the more we zoom in, we can get really, really close. You see how the line stays the same. All right, nice, good, crisp quality. where it's even the raster is more and more distorted. Right? So that's what we want to do, is actually trace this. So I'm just going to delete these lines and show up. So what we have now is our mouse head. Another key that I want you to keep in mind as you're using Adobe Illustrator is you want to make as many closed loops as possible. What I mean by that is the nose here is a closed loop. All right, we're going to try to loop that in. One object, the eye, the ear, the entire mouse head. All right, his tongue is one, his tooth, his ear will be one. We want to try to make as many closed loops as possible on our drawing. That is so when we fill them in, we get exactly what we want. Okay. So we're going to start with my pen tool and tracing. I want to begin to trace his nose. So I have a starting point, I click and let go. I want to take a line here and I click and hold and just let it go when it's over top. So I click the starting point, come down here, click and let go. Start here, click and hold, click, and I want to close the loop. If you can see, right next to my pen, there's a little zero or like a loop telling me that I'm going to be closing the loop. There you go, close that loop off. And again, we want to make as many closed loops as possible. So I'm going to go up to the eye here, trace out the eye. Again, just taking your time, and again, there's a learning curve in learning how to use the pen tool. All right. Just remember, I've done this for a couple years, so I kind of know where to move my mouse to get the curves that I'm looking for. That'll take a little bit for you to develop, so just take your time with it. All right. Don't get very, very frustrated. So again, here's my closed loop, that loop that's there, and I close it in. All right. Also need to do his entire head. Now a key point here, if I'm doing his head, I don't want to go here and then go around. I still have to double line it. All right. What I mean by double line is I already have one line, whoops, there for his nose. I have to make my headline overlap. All right. We don't just want to assume these lines do not connect unless you tell them to, and just on the one closed loop. All right, so just work my way around there. Hopefully take a little bit more time as you do it. I'm just trying to do it here relatively quickly. But again, as you see, you know, I'm giving a decent amount of space. I'm not clicking really small areas. I'm trying to actually get some bigger chunks and follow some of the lines. If it's not exact, it's not the end of the world. We're just looking to get some smooth lines. Again, converting all the jaggy raster images that you're seeing on this outline and converting it to this nice smooth line. All right, so I'm going back in here again around the eye, and you just have that double line there, right, and close off the loop. Now what else we also would need to do is the ear have a closed loop, the tongue and the tooth and the rest of the body. Where we're at with these lines, since these are just straight lines, you don't need to make a closed loop. You can just make that a straight line. All right, you select that, come here and make that a line. Once you would get the entire cartoon finished, we would need to fill in the area. Okay, so if I have my ear here, and again to fill it in, I can just double click and I'll fill it in white because I want my ear to be white. Same thing with my eye, double click, make that white. Now you had a pupil here, so I'm just going to click on my shape tool here, grab my ellipse. All right, give me a little bit of a pupil. So I have that there. When we want to add color, we can do two things. Again, we can double click on the fill and click a color that we want. All right, or we can also use this eyedropper tool. This eyedropper matches the exact color whatever we click on. So if I click right here, his whole head will change that color. Now you also may say, well, what happened? The eye was here, the ear was here. Even though we still did everything in layer 2, it still puts things in front of the other. So if I did the ear, then I did the eye, then I did the head, it's saying that the head is in front of the ear and the eye. We actually need to take the head and move it behind. Take the head and move it behind. And how we do that, go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. So I'm telling my head I want you to go in the back of everything. Therefore the eye and the ear come up to the front. All right, I'm just going to add my stroke of my line back into it so it's easy to see. So at this point, what is happening, again, if I just turn my eyeball the layer off, I can see exactly what I have. That's one of the reasons why we want to create 2 layers. So you can see what you need to do yet, and also when you're finished, it will print this out. One of the things you notice in the mouse is the nose. And the nose has a gradient itself. Along with the solid colors, we also have a gradient. So if you click on the gradient, you can use this gradient tool, and it'll tell you the direction that you want your gradient. Wherever I click first, it'll be down here, it'll be white, and wherever I let go is black. So if we want it to be top to bottom, so we have the white and the black. If we want the white to be down here and black up top, I click here and move up. If we want it horizontal, we can make it horizontal. However you see fit, you could also change these colors. Instead of black, if I want it to be, we'll say a blue color, just changes the colors here, I can make that blue. All right, and again, set up the gradient as you see fit. All right, that's one way to do a gradient. One other quick point or thought I want to do, if I zoom into the ear here. All right, and again, we're doing the pen tool. I don't want it to fill in anything. I just want to outline it. What I don't want to see is a bunch of clicks like this, multiple clicks. All right, because even though, let me just turn that layer off so it's easier to see. Even though this is a vectored line, you still see that it's all jaggy. Again, what I'm looking for is if you click and hold, and you get some nice smooth lines. All right, again, is what I'm looking for as you guys are doing this. All right. Again, I understand there's a learning curve to all of this. So again, take your time, learn how to make some curves. Again, close loops. Close loops. Because the thing is, if you do not close a loop in, and I'll show you here quick, if I'm just trying to do the head, I'll just go over top, something very, very quick. If you do not close a loop in and start to something else, when you go to fill this in, let's fill blue this right now, you see that it just cuts it off. There's not a closed loop around the head. All right, so make as many closed loops as you possibly can, and that'll help you in this assignment as we're, again, converting raster images to vector images.